Welcome to Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. I'm your host, Sadia. This is my mother, Ema. Hey, Ema.
Hello, my lovey. Mm.
How was your day?
Hey, Baruch Hashem, summer vacation has hit.
Yes,
Get to
yes.
sleep late, stay up late, sleep late. I get hooked on YouTube.
Oh, yeah? Anything fun?
What it is, I say to myself, oh, I'll just watch this little 10-minute thing. I'll watch that. It'll only be 10 minutes. That 10-minute thing. Oh, okay, maybe one more 10-minute thing. That 10-minute thing. Before I know it, it's like
Oh,
hours.
gosh.
I like especially I like historical stuff,
Yeah.
especially like tortures of the Middle Ages.
Oh, wow.
I like watching things about serial killers.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to like that. It seems to be a trend.
What fascination do we have with that garbage?
I don't
With this
know.
evil person.
Yeah, there's just some obsessions, especially with like Jeffrey Dahmer that came out like recently. I think it was like last year, and whatnot. It's funny because I like going on YouTube and doing DIY stuff and
What is that?
do it yourself. So like there's stuff around the house that need to be taken care of. So like there's some plumbing issues, and like I have no problem going ahead and like just watching some videos a couple times, looking at some comments, maybe speak to somebody or two from Home Depot, and then just doing it myself. And it's mostly successful. Then it comes to like electrical work, I would say I would touch on it very briefly because electrical work, you got to be very careful, especially if you have an older house like I do. Like you got to watch it. Like you have to look at everything. For instance, I don't know if anyone out here is in construction or does electrical work or is familiar with it. You have these older houses that don't really have grounders for these receptacles, and you have to.
Do you explain what a grounder is?
Well, I mean that's why I said if anyone's familiar, it's just, what it is it's that third prong in the plug, which is supposed to ground the electrical wiring. Nowadays, everybody has grounders, but the old houses, some of them did, some of them didn't. And I remember one time I wanted to replace one receptacle and see if I can replace it with a grounder, and maybe if it needed like a corrective switch or a GFCI, which is the
Are those little things that you push it
yes,
in? So the
yeah.
grounder. What does the grounder do? What does the grounder do for the electricity in the house?
It prevents it from basically having an electrical shortage, or it lowers the possibility of electrical shortage because it's grounded to the ground.
Sounds good.
That's why nowadays it's more common. Not just common, I think it's the main thing. But like I was going to go replace a 2-point receptacle with a 3-point grounder, and I realized that there was no grounder or there wasn't anything that I can be available. I just didn't know what was going on. Didn't know what to do. So that's when I had to be like, all right, I'm going to stop what I'm doing right now, call the electrical guy. I had to pay like, $175, and he had to like go in and take care of stuff and resolve some electrical issues. But that was it. Everything else though, I like taking care of it myself. I think for me, it's fun and makes me feel a little more independent.
And that's about the older houses that I've seen situations with these older houses that, like, if you have a microwave,
yeah,
and on top of the microwave you have your coffee maker, and if you plug them both in at the same time, try to operate them both at the same time, it blows the circuit. You've got to go downstairs and reset the circuit breaker.
I mean I have that. That's why I have, instead of dealing with the circuit breaker, I have a it's like a safety switch when it comes to like the large computer outlet switches. So I just have that, so it switches off the main it turns off the main switch, but I just have to unplug it and then plug it again. I don't have to worry about going down into the circuit breaker.
Years ago, I think when I was a little girl, you had houses that still had fuses.
Ooh, wow.
And you would every now a fuse would blow, and you had to buy new fuses and untwist it and take it out and put new fuses in. And I don't know what was there was a thing about putting nickels or coins in the fuse box.
It probably has to do with the conductivity of the coins. I do know that on a similar thing, if you ever want to like quickly make, a fire, you take some tinder, and what you do is you take like a AAA battery, and you take the foil from a piece of gum, and you have it wrapped between the top and the bottom of the battery. So therefore, you have a battery with the wrapper, and that creates an electrical current that can turn into fire. And you put it next to tinder, and then that's how you can start a fire.
Woo!
Yeah.
What kind of battery? Any particular type of battery?
I think I've only seen it done with a AAA or a AA, so maybe
Have
one
you
of
tried
those.
it?
I've seen it done. I've never done it myself. I just didn't have enough interest to do it. To be honest. But
I'd be
that's
worried that putting the electric foil around the battery. I'd be concerned about sparking. I think shocking myself.
well, I mean, that's why you got to be careful and wear rubber gloves in case you're trying to like, mess around with electrical wiring. That's why I try to be careful with electrical. Anything had to do with electrical, because you could really short circuit things. You could really injure yourself.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I avoid that. Plumbing, I have no problem. I've done a lot of plumbing around the house. It's really, for me, I think it's very straightforward. It's nothing too complicated. If you watch enough YouTube videos and whatnot, and and you're pretty handy, you could probably do the right thing. But like that's the thing you also have to ask yourself, like, when do you quit? Like, what's not just DIYs, but like in general, like when's the right time to be like, all right, I'm done. I'm out of here.
Like
Because
you said, when it gets a little complicated, it's more complicated than what you thought it would be.
yeah, but here's the thing. Sometimes, like even if I felt like it was more complicated than I expected, I would still work it out, and I most of the time be successful at it. I would just like not quit and whatnot. But I think what happens is that I run out of time, or I'm realizing someone else is expecting something out of me. So like I don't have the luxury to go ahead and be like, let me play with this for a little bit. I'm like, I don't have time for this right now. Let's just take the easiest route and then just run with it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like some of the times I've tried to do some do-it-yourself fixing.
Yeah.
And I am your father and I were not talented in that area at all. I forgot what it was. I tried to do some well, actually here in the new house where I'm living, there was a problem with the water adjuster, I don't know what you would call it, on the bathtub. It was one of those things where you turn it to the right and it's hot, it's cold water, you turn it to the left. It's one of those like round things.
Yeah.
And so it it was like getting all it was old and it was getting all broken up. So I just took it off and I took it to Home Depot, and this guy matched it up for me with a new one. And it was just a matter of just putting the thing on and screwing it and screwing the screw in, and that was it. And it was
Yeah.
on. So I managed to do that.
I mean, that's what's so funny. A lot of stuff you can do. But like I always think the stuff like, what can I do if I had like unlimited money? And like I would just, what would I put in here? Or what would I put in that, like, I guess wouldn't necessarily be like normal, or like maybe put in,
Mhm.
I would think maybe I would definitely punch open the kitchen. Everyone talks about that area just be punched open, which
Mhm.
it costs a lot because it's structural and HVAC work that would have to get done. But also
Speaking of the what work that would have to get done?
the mechanical work that would be taken care of with those ducts between the ventilation in my house.
Uh-huh.
So I would have
Well, I
to
remember we wanted to do that. We wanted to keep the wall, but carve it out. Like you have a big square, like big rectangle. So instead of me walking around, I could just pass the food
correct.
out. And one of our neighbors did that very successfully. But the guy that was working on our house was reluctant to do that because he was afraid that there might be some sort of what's that, one of those pillars that holds up the house.
It's supportive wall, and it is a supportive
Yeah.
wall, but there
He was
you
concerned
can
about that.
you can punch open a supportive wall, and you could put in some headers and make it sure they're nice and thick, like a 2x12, and it can distribute the weight properly, and it'll be fine.
Well, this guy, it became apparent as he was working in our house that he really did not know what he was doing.
Oh,
And that was the one who we made after several months of him working on our house and things falling apart after he put them in. That was the one your father made him a deal. We
what
don't
was the
pay
deal?
you. We don't pay you. We don't sue you.
Oh,
And he
yeah.
took it.
Jeez Louise. Yeah, no,
That's how bad he was. He took it. He took
yeah,
the deal.
yeah. I've seen this one time, and I think I've mentioned it before on the podcast. I was working in this one project, and unfortunately the contractor put in a fire door in the wrong area and had to remove the fire door and place it somewhere else.
What's a fire
And
door?
a fire door is a door that if you have it closed, you have about 30, 60, 90 minutes before it gets consumed by the fire.
Ooh, okay.
So they're called fire doors. You can't really tell the difference except for a little tag that says fire rated, and it'll say like 90 minutes, 60 minutes, 45 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And it's stapled on. It's supposed to be stapled on, and you're not supposed to touch it, because if you touch it, that's an issue.
You mean the sign on the door?
The
It says
sign,
fire
yes,
door.
it's usually on
Not
it's
supposed to
usually on
touch
the
it.
side. It's usually on
Uh-huh.
the not the front or the back, but the side of the door.
Ah, uh-huh.
And I was inspecting it to make sure it was the right one, and I noticed it was tampered with.
Whoa.
And I mentioned to the contractor, like, hey, I think this was tampered. Is everything okay? And he got really up in my face, started yelling and screaming, like, how dare you, blah, 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 blah. I'm like,
Ooh.
okay, forget this.
You're telling him for his own good.
He doesn't care. That's the problem with getting a bad contractor. They don't care. They're just there for the money, and they just want to bounce. So you go ahead and that's why I went ahead and I told my boss, I sent him a picture. I was new at this, so I really wouldn't know like how to like properly tackle it. So my boss was like, do you want me to take care of it? I'm like, I guess I could take care of it myself, but I just want to see, like, I don't know. So he took care of it, and I guess they resolved the issue of some sort, or they eventually fired the contractor or something. But yeah, that happens all the time. You got to be so careful because, people might be nice, but you got to make sure that they know how to get the job done.
I remember watching on Forensic Files. There was a sad murder case of a man in Texas had his he was a contractor. I mean, he had a construction company, and one of the guys who he hired was really doing lousy work. So when he fired him, the guy killed him. The guy murdered
Oh, wow.
him. He had a big fight. He had a big fight, and the guy wound up murdering the guy who murdered the older gentleman.
Yeah.
Who owned the company that was firing him.
I mean, that's why I think it's so funny, because in the corporate world, everything is so finicky, where it's like when I was younger, I didn't think people were so friendly to me in my head. I'm like, oh, they're just friendly. It's fine. I can talk to them. I can speak to them about anything. And I didn't realize, but like over time, I'm realizing like, no, there's a certain way, like people are friendly for like a corporate reason. They're just trying to be polite to just get through the day. Like, they're not your friends. They're your coworkers. And keep that in mind. I think a lot of times people, in my opinion, it's like you're putting in 40, 45 hours a week of time into this thing where it's just like people don't care about you. It's hard to comprehend. It's hard to understand on some level. You have to be realizing.
Have you ever tried to fix something though, and really like
really what? Hey, Ma, you froze.
Are we connected?
Yeah, now we're connected. You just froze for a little.
I thought when I heard that silence, I thought, uh-oh, did I hit something sensitive?
No. It's just connections. It's just connections. I couldn't hear fully what you said. So what were you? Maybe you could reword it now.
I mean, we've all done this. We've all done
screwed
this
up at work.
We tried to fix something, We
Oh,
thought, oh, I can fix it. It's an easy job. And we totally,
oh,
totally screwed. Well, there's one time Connie and I was telling you before, um, decided to replace this. It was a small bulb in the tail light of our van.
yeah,
And so we said, this looks pretty easy. So we went to AutoZone. We got the light. I took, Phillips head screwdriver, unscrewed the case, put the light bulb in, rescrewed it. But then we found that there was something else that was wrong with the larger light. There was like two,
yeah.
lights in the smaller and larger. So I took it to a mechanic, and the mechanic looked at it and said, "What idiot replaced this light bulb?" And I said, "I did." And he goes, "Hey, you did a pretty good job." And I go, "Wait a minute." I said, "When you first saw it, you said, 'What idiot replaced this light bulb?' And then when you found it was me, you told me I did a pretty decent job." So what's going on here? So he says, "Anybody who was a trained auto mechanic would have replaced it this way." That's why I said, "Who was the idiot?" But he says, a lay person who really doesn't know anything and tries to replace it, like you said herself. How can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm
Tries to
good.
replace herself. He said that you did a pretty decent job for someone, like for some lay person who really didn't know much.
Well,
And my battery is going low. It's okay.
oh,
I'm
that's
going to
probably
get my
why.
I'm
That's
going to get
probably
my
everything froze.
charger.
Yeah, get your
I got
charger.
this, look, I got this long charger that is
Wonderful. Oh, what happened to your arm? Did you give blood today?
Oh, yeah, I had a blood test.
Oh, okay. Hopefully everything's good.
Yeah, they were concerned about my last blood test because it showed that I was part reptile.
Wait, you aren't part reptile?
I'm joking
I
around.
know, I
I
know.
said it
Waka
shows
waka waka
part
waka waka.
reptile.
I know, Emma. I know. I added to the. It's
You know
added to
I
the
am
joke.
part reptile. Yes, okay.
Yeah, you're cold blooded.
Yes, they put in the thing. There we go.
So
See, I'm able to. I'm. 1 second. Is this charging? Now, here's the problem in Florida.
yeah,
Sometimes the one charger will work and the other one won't.
that's weird.
Depends.
So what? Yeah. So what I was saying, was when I had situations that I had to work on something and it felt like it started getting more and more complicated. Um, a lot of times it happened where it's like I still need to get this done. I still need to get this done at a certain time. So I'd have to take a step back, take a quick break, and then reevaluate, or try to understand what the problem is and how to resolve it. Because a lot of times it would be like I'm the end of the can road, and I don't have the luxury of just kicking it over to somebody else. I have to take over. And I mean, I guess something like more of like a DIY situation. I think at one point I had to take care of a headlight issue, and it was a different. Each car is a different way to put in the headlights, and I was trying to figure it all out, and like I was just getting flustered, and when I was getting flustered, I wasn't thinking right, so I just stopped, took a step back, and like just walked away for a little bit, and then just came back, and I was able to resolve the issue, and that's kind of how I got through things. I mean, maybe as a kid, if I was like a teenager or something, what's funny is I still would be stubbornly trying to make this work. That's why, like, I was talking about when to quit. Like sometimes I don't know when to quit. I just keep on trying, keep on trying, keep on trying.
I remember I'm the same way, because I remember especially when I took algebra. My first year taking algebra was very difficult.
Yeah.
And I remember getting very frustrated and working.
Okay. So I think your audio, everything is frozen still. We're gonna have to figure this out. So as for your listeners and viewers, yeah, I guess I think there comes to a point where you have to say that it's time to quit and it's time to stop. But that just gauges on each situation at a time.
Hey, what's going on? You froze for a while.
It was you that froze, and I was talking to the listeners.
And then you just froze. After I froze, you froze.
Okay, continue.
Oh, are we okay? Am I
Yeah,
connected?
yeah. Let's work through this train wreck of an episode.
I freeze, you freeze, we all freeze
It's funny.
together.
It's funny, by the way. We're talking about things that not work out and how much do you quit. And like this whole episode's just been frozen. We're like, let's get through it. Let's get through it. Let's go. We're good. Come on. All right.
Power through it. Yes.
Power through it. Let's power through it.
And there's one time your father asked me to fix something in the sink.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, look, I said, this is not my expertise. I said, you have to know I might botch it. He goes, I don't care, just try, just try. So I did it. And I said, you better not yell at me if I botch it. He goes, okay, he promised he would not yell at me if I botched it. Guess what?
He yelled at you because you botched it.
Yep.
Because you just don't listen, Ema. That's the problem. You just don't listen. You don't pay attention. You get things wrong. Ugh, it's a darn shame. It's a darn shame. I mean, like, I don't know, because I remember I have this one situation with this one person where I'm observing them and I'm hanging out with them. And I'm realizing that there's this moments where like the person's just like, if they struggle too hard, they throw a fit. They just quit. They constantly ask for help. They constantly ask for reassurance. Like there's very little independence. And I started working with them in a way of like, okay, let's try a little bit, let's give you some confidence and let's boost you to maybe stand on your own 2 feet when it comes to figuring things out. And it got to a point where like they were like coming up with ideas, and I knew they weren't really thinking. They were just copying and pasting ideas. And I'm like, okay, these are good ideas, but are they really your own, or are you copying? And they're like, whatever, it's fine. I'm like, okay, so let's just stop and let's think. And there's always a good idea. So let's just go ahead and you tell me like what idea do you want? Like, what name should we call this thing? And he's like coming with this, that, and the other. And if I he starts thinking, he starts stopping and thinking and being like, well, let's try this, let's try that. He's like, what about this? What about that? And then he starts getting really good. But then he starts thinking of too many things, and he needs to know when to just choose one thing and move forward. And that's the other thing I noticed. But whatever, it's neither here nor there. It's just something that like people eventually as humans learn to work through and learn to just choose one thing, run with it, and what can you learn from it, and what.
Do you remember the television program? I think it was Tim Allen.
Oh, Tim the Toolman Taylor. Home Improvements, yeah.
Oh, that was a still. Remember, they were always botching this. There was one episode I remember where they did all this electrical work, and if they leave the house, the guy says to him, "Did you remember to turn off the gas pipe?"
Oh no!
And he goes, "I thought you were the one that was going to turn off the gas pipe." And all of a sudden, you hear the house boom.
Yeah. I think I had that problem one time where I like was cooking dinner, and then I went ahead and I left the stove on. And I didn't realize I finished making dinner, and then I had everything on simmer so it can stay warm and whatnot. And I forgot it the whole night. And the whole thing was on, like my gas bill. Like, geez Louise, oh my gosh.
So what happened? Was the food all totally ruined, or what happened?
No, everything was fine. I just forgot this. The dimmer was so there was nothing on the flame. Just the flame was on for like 8-9 hours straight.
Yeah.
And
I remember I was steaming some mushrooms.
Yeah.
And I left the room to take care of something, and I started to play a chess game on my app. I got so involved in the chess game, all of a sudden I'm smelling something, go, something burning. I go, oh, it's the mushrooms.
I'll do you one better. I was cooking I think I was cooking couscous, and it's supposed to be a quick meal. And I just left it on the side. I totally forgot about it. The whole place starts smelling like a smoke. I'm like, oh God. And then I had to go ahead and like check it, and like the whole pan got burnt and whatnot.
I think we've all done stuff like that.
You couldn't solve it, like just whatever. Yeah, just being forgetful, but it's life. It happens. It's just I think anything that's like, oh, I remember a story. As a kid, I, of course, like anybody else, loved eating cheese and crackers. And I took an entire block of cheese with me to sit on the playground, the neighbor's playground, and start eating cheese and crackers. And then you called me in, and I totally forgot the block of cheese, like the huge block of cheese. And like you come at me like the next day, and you're like, "Did you leave the?" I'm like, "Oh God, no, sorry, I didn't mean to." I think I was like 6 or 9. I don't know. I was really young, and like I left the whole block of cheese, and you were so upset with me.
Oh yeah, because a whole block of cheese that's expensive.
A block of cheese nowadays is like $18-20.
Yeah. Then it was but with inflation, it would be
about
proportionately.
Proportionally, yeah, it'd be about that.
So what happens? Did the squirrels enjoy it?
I don't know. I
The
don't remember.
possum, the squirrels and the possum. Or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I think I just left it. It was like the next day and it just rotted. And like I just totally forgot about it. Which I think other times when I was a kid and I just forgot things. Just being forgetful, not meaning to. It wasn't malicious or anything like that. You're just like, it's the idea is like you're in this other world, so to speak, and you're not grounded. If I
Well,
can
it's called being ADHD.
ADD, ADHD, everything's all over the place. Yeah,
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 I was
something like
that
that.
way. Oh, I was ADHD all the time. Yeah, I'm constantly forgetting stuff. Being like doing one thing and then something just, especially when you're a mother and you've got little kids,
Oh
you can
yeah.
be in the middle of doing something and all of a sudden, mommy,
Yeah.
yeah, you gotta you react. So you
Hmm.
run over to see what the kid's doing and you forget. You might have something on the stove. You might
Yeah.
be in the middle of the water running or something, and you totally forget about it, and everything goes running over.
Yeah. Like one of our my siblings kid forgot to have kept the water running accidentally. And then like
I,
they went on a trip or something like that and they didn't realize and like the whole bathroom was all soaked. Uh,
there was one time I was in the living room and I noticed water coming from the bathroom upstairs. So I run upstairs and there for me was like 2 years old. And I see she's standing, there's water, the sink is totally full of water and it's overrunning. And she's washing her hands and she looks at me and smiles and shows me she's so proud she's washing her hands all by herself. But she had put down the what's it called, the stopper, and the
yeah.
water was all over the bathroom floor,
I remember actually
running
as a
through the ceiling. And she's so proud, like, look, I'm washing my hands myself. And then there was you with that shirt,
oh with
Shabbos, remember Shabbos
oh
with the
yeah.
salad dressing.
Oh yeah. I went to soak the shirt and then like let the shirt soak in a sink that kept on
Father
running.
actually laughed because he said technically you did follow directions. What happened was you took the bottle of Italian salad dressing and you wanted to shake it up, but you didn't realize that the top was loose and the top flew off and the salad dressing went over your nice white Shabbos shirt. So I told you go upstairs and run water over it. And so you put it in the sink, you turned on the water, and then you came downstairs and you did exactly what I said. You were running water over it.
I don't know what I was thinking.
But when
Yeah.
I
Oh
think your
gosh.
father was laughing about that. I mean, with our ceiling being ruined and everything. But hey,
Uh
by the way, did you check what's going on with the bathroom? That a lot of those bathrooms on our block have had that problem with
it's a caulking
water
issue. It's a
coming, the
caulking
water
issue.
issue coming through it.
No, it's just caulking. The
Good,
problem is
good.
that the caulking needs to be redone. It has to be done and taken care of all the time.
Hmm.
And then that's it.
Okay.
You could check for like a tight pipe or a loose pipe, but I
Mhm.
looked into it. It drips because things aren't properly caulked, and then you have the moisture. Everything else, that's it. Um, the biggest thing also is that you try to have it. This is expensive and whatever, but you have to like
Mhm.
repipe the whole house if you're trying to get like pressure backed up again, because a lot of times over time so much stuff gets through the piping that it starts to crystallize, and then the piping gets smaller and smaller and smaller. But actually I have an odd question. What would you put in your house, like if you had all the money in the world and like it would only be to your benefit or interest for you?
Huh. 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 Mm, 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 mm. Uh, Heated swimming pool.
Heated swimming pool.
Heated swimming pool with
Jacuzzi or
a
something.
with a wall around it, so I could
Mm.
escape.
Yeah, please have that very thick wall. Make sure
I've
nothing
never
gets
been
through.
skinny dipping. Have you?
Yeah. Yeah. One
Wow.
time it was funny. Me and my friends, when we were in Israel, we went to this hotel, snuck in, went to the pool, skinny dipped, and then the security guard came and asked us to leave. So I just got up and left. Uh, Full bear, whatever. Didn't really care. And then, you know, got on my clothes and bounced. But yeah, and then another time, in the Mediterranean Sea a little bit, you know.
Oh, you're kidding me. Were you on a public beach?
Yeah, it was nighttime, no one was around, you know. It was fun. It's just like in your late
Any
teens, early
problem with the
20s.
seaweed?
Nope, everything was fine. Everything was okay. Oh my gosh. Except one time I went to the Dead Sea and like I was
Didn't skin
chafed.
disappear, did you?
No, I was just very chafed. And then unfortunately, like I went to the Dead Sea and it just hurt and everything stung. It was just
Yes.
really, really bad. It was just
Ooh,
terrible. Really,
yes.
really bad.
Yosef, your brother was telling me about when he was in Israel about there was a group of Africans that didn't
Oh
realize
yes.
about how, the Red Sea, how
You're not
dirty
supposed to do
salty
anything
it
but
is.
just sit in
And
it.
they jumped into it and started splashing, and all of a sudden they started screaming at their
Yes,
eyes. Oh,
I saw that too. There was this Christian African Christian tour group, and they let them out the Dead Sea. And I'm just like sitting there watching them as like I'm just putting mud on myself, trying to like keep things cool. And they go and start putting the water over their face and slapping their face. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I try to tell them, and like it was too late because they start freaking out. I'm like, oh God. And like that's they because people didn't I don't understand. Like there's warnings. You have to look at the labels and like there's giant signs like it's like a
oh
it's pure
God.
salt water. So much that you can float in it, you know? But I did take some salt with me and some mud with me back.
Uh-huh.
That was fun. I had it all the way up until like 2-3 weeks ago. Um
Hmm.
and I just put it in my bath and you put the salt in the bath and it dissolves and it's nice. You have a nice little fun thing.
Well, it's they sell them. They sell all the Dead Sea products. There's a whole line
Oh yeah, there's a whole line. There's a whole
of
marketing
skin
for it.
treatment products.
Go to any mall and you have some Israeli asking you if everything is okay and if your skin's nice and soft, and they go ahead and give you like a sample, and you're like, oh really? And you just wind up buying a bunch. Um, but have you ever made any tourist mistakes when you toured around?
Oh, too many. Here's what happened. When I was in Switzerland,
Yeah.
I was just walking around let me see what city. Zurich. I was walking around Zurich.
Mm-hmm.
It was nighttime, and I passed by this bar. You can see it was obviously a bar, and I figured, why not? I'm single. I'm in my 20, I'm well over 21, whatever. Although in Europe, the drinking age in many countries is like 18. Sometimes there's no drinking age, but I thought I'd go into this bar. I go into this bar, and it's wall to wall men, not a single female customer is there, and the waitresses are dressed very scantily.
Okay.
And one of the waitresses looks at me like with
Like, what are you doing here?
like daggers in her eyes. I just turned right around and went right out the door.
You think it was a gentleman's club?
I don't know. There was no stage. It wasn't like a strip joint or anything. But I just walked in. It was like a regular bar, and like, in fact, there were tables. They were all sitting at tables drinking. It wasn't like there was a bar and they're drinking at the bar. They're drinking at these little tables that were set up.
And there was no
And there was
stage?
no, like I said, there was no stage for any entertainment or anything like that. They were just, you know, they're drinking. And like I said,
That's odd.
I'm not sure what it might have been, but my instincts tell me it might not have been something very nice.
No, no, it would not.
I don't think it was nice. No.
Anything else? Any other times when you were like in Italy?
I'm trying to think. This was Switzerland. Let me see. Italy. Tourist mistakes in Italy. Nothing. Well, with Italy, I was with a group.
Oh, okay.
So there was a guy in charge of the group, and yeah. So we were,
Less
so
of a
we were,
chance of, yeah.
we were taken around every place. Oh, in Italy, here's what happened. It was we were nighttime dinner time. We were left on our own. We were breakfast. We had breakfast at the it was called Foro Italico at the it was a big dormitory, that, and a big dormitory and cafeteria that basically covered a lot of different colleges that were in the area. It was very interesting, by the way. The recreation area and the eating area was in a completely separate building, and there was a tunnel that went from the dormitories, and you went under the street. It was a busy like boulevard, and you went through this tunnel under the street to the recreation building where there was the cafeteria. So at nighttime, dinner time, nighttime, we were free to go to any restaurants we wanted. That's when I ate an octopus, a pickled octopus. And there were these African students who many people in our group became friendly with. And so there was one time this African student took us to this discotheque. A discotheque is,
yeah, discotheque.
dancing.
I know.
Yeah, a discotheque, right. I don't know if they use those terms now or not, but we went to a discotheque. And so he comes there, and the lady behind the desk wanted to know who, she wanted to charge each and every one of us. So this African, his name was Muhammad. Muhammad was big and ugly.
Oh gosh.
And so Muhammad tells the lady behind the desk, "Oh, these are my friends from Africa. Don't ask us how we certainly didn't look African, but these are my friends." And so she goes, "Okay, they can all come in." She wasn't about to argue with Muhammad. So before we went out with this whole group of African students, some friends of mine said to me, they knew that I enjoyed talking politics.
Oh yeah.
I was a big leftist at the time.
Yeah.
Big leftist. So they said, "Don't talk politics with Muhammad. Because he can get crazy. Keep everything very,
civil."
So right, just talk in general terms. Never get into any political discussions or deep discussions with Muhammad.
Okay.
So I said, okay. So we go to this place, and we're all sitting. We're having drinks, and we're dancing, and we're having drinks, and the standards of modesty in Europe are very different from standards of modesty in the United States.
Yeah.
And I saw something on the stage. They had a stage there that you would not see in a normal, decent discotheque. You would only see it in some strip joint on the block.
Someone taking their clothes or barely clothes dancing?
It was this girl. She wasn't. She was behind a screen, and you could see her silhouette. She's behind a big white sheet, and there was a light behind her, so you could see her silhouette. And she obviously was naked, very obviously. So I was only like, I'd never seen anything like this before in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty innocent. I was like, that's 20, I think I was 20 years old. I was 20 years old. And I'm just looking at this. I'm like, what? I was like shocked. So I feel somebody hold my hand, and it's Muhammad.
Yeah.
And he's trying to hit on me. And I said, I took my hand away. I said, no, Muhammad, no.
No.
He says to me in this broken English, he pats his chest and says, "But my heart is for you."
Oh, that's so sweet.
He's big and he's ugly.
Okay.
Ugly guy.
He wasn't your type.
Definitely. So I said, "Sorry, Muhammad, no." So he notices how I'm just fixated on watching this girl dance because
he thinks you're lesbian.
Exactly, because I have never seen anything like this. So he goes, he says, "So you like the woman?" I go, no, Muhammad, I'm not lesbian. No, Muhammad goes, "Yes, in America, lesbians." And he starts to talk about American capitalism and evil and lesbians. And this friend of mine looks at me, and she gives me this dirty look, and she says, "I told you not to talk politics with Muhammad." I said, "I wasn't talking politics with Muhammad."
Oh gosh, I love it. All right, thank you so much, Ema. I appreciate it. I will, God willing, talk to you. Give you a quick call, but have a wonderful Shabbos.
You too, honey. Love you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.